Good evening, Courtney Scott. This is Sunday, October the 30th, and I have your weekend report. I have an article here from BBC News. Clinton emails, officials advised FBI not to reveal inquiry. It says the FBI was advised by the U.S. Justice Department not to inform Congress of a new inquiry into Hillary Clinton's email use, officials say. The Justice Department official said the move would be inconsistent with rules designed to avoid the appearance of interference in an election. FBI Director James Comey acted independently when he briefed lawmakers in a letter on Friday. Quote, Mrs. Clinton said the move was unprecedented and deeply troubling. FBI investigators have known about the existence of the newly discovered emails for weeks, but did not inform the FBI director, according to U.S. media reports. Leading Democratic senators have written to Mr. Comey and to Attorney General Loretta Lynch, urging them to provide more details about the investigation by Monday. They argue that Mr. Comey's decision to reveal the reopening of the case less than 2 weeks before the November 8th election is being used for political purposes. But Republican opponent Donald Trump has praised the FBI's decision. Speaking at a rally in Nevada on Sunday, Mr. Trump accused the Justice Department of protecting the Democratic presidential candidate in a rigged system. Quote, the Department of Justice is trying their hardest to protect the criminal activity of Hillary Clinton, Mr. Trump said, offering no evidence for the assertion. Continuing on in his letter to Congress, Mr. Comey said the FBI had learned of fresh emails which might be, quote, pertinent to its previous inquiry into Mrs. Clinton's use of a private server when she was Secretary of State in the Obama administration. Mr. Comey, who has served in government under both Democratic and Republican presidents, has insisted that not making the inquiry public would be, quote, misleading. It is not clear what the emails, which the FBI said it discovered in connection with an unrelated case, contain or how significantly they are to the investigation. The unrelated case is said to be the inquiry into top Clinton aide Huma Abedin's estranged husband, former Congressman Anthony Weiner, who is alleged to have sent sexually explicit emails to a 15-year-old girl in North Carolina. Speaking to supporters in Florida on Saturday, Mrs. Clinton said, quote, it's not just strange, it's unprecedented, and it's deeply troubling because voters deserve to get full and complete facts. So we've called on Director Comey to explain everything right away. Put it all on the table, she says. Mrs. Clinton has said she is confident the investigation into the emails will not change the FBI's original finding in July, which criticized her but cleared her of any illegal acts. Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta said that Mr. Comey's handling of the matter was, quote, inappropriate, and the information provided was, quote, long on innuendo and short on facts. There was, he said, no evidence of wrongdoing, no charge of wrongdoing, no indication this is even about Hillary. Mrs. Clinton's running mate Tim Kaine told NBC's Meet the Press the FBI director owed it to the public to be more forthcoming about the emails. Quote, we don't know whether they're to or from Hillary at all, the Virginia senator said. If he hasn't seen the emails, I mean, they need to make that completely plain. Then they should work to see the emails and release the circumstances of those once they have done that analysis. But Mr. Trump's running mate Mike Pence praised Mr. Comey's decision, saying the emails showed Mrs. Clinton was a, quote, risky choice, and the Clinton campaign was practicing the old playbook of politics of personal destruction by targeting the director of the FBI and questioning his personal integrity. Mr. Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, I believe it says, told the CNN that Mr. Comey would have been accused of interfering in the election if he had not disclosed the newly discovered emails were under investigation. So that's one article kind of explaining that the FBI and how the FBI has reopened the email investigation into Hillary Clinton. Apparently, like it said, they came upon this because of their investigation into Mr. Weiner and his inappropriate behaviors in office, contacting or communicating with this 15-year-old girl from North Carolina. So apparently in that, they came upon more emails, after clearing her, of wrongdoing previously, as the article stated. So that's something you want to pay attention to. I'm sure there'll be a lot more that develops out of that. I believe that the whole Hillary campaign is corrupt as can be. And I just believe that God is allowing the hidden things to come to light. So pay attention to what comes out of that. I expect more turbulence this Monday as these investigations go deeper. Also in the news, I'm here at thefreeproject.com, and we see here that Mr. Assange, it was rumored that he may have been actually taken out by the U.S. government in some way. He is being held in the Ecuador embassy, and suddenly we lost contact with him and his reports from WikiLeaks, and we had dead silence for a couple days, I believe it was. But I did read an article earlier today that he is well, he is still alive, and that I guess the U.S. had much influence over cutting his internet connection there in Ecuador, where he's not able to, so that he would not be able to influence the election process. That's what they're trying to now blame it on, and say that we need to stop him and we need to make these threats to the Ecuadorian embassy in order to keep Mr. Assange from influencing the election. But news flash, I mean, there's so much stuff out here already that I don't see how her run it's not going to be affected in a negative way. I mean, she's done so many things, and it's just now all, like I said, coming to light. So here at the Free Thought Project, and here's an article, Assange, titled "Assange Claims Crazed Clinton Campaign Tried to Hack WikiLeaks." So now it looks like they're actually trying to turn the tide, as you will, on Assange, and actually go after him with cyber attacks. But here's the article. It says Julian Assange has claimed the Hillary Clinton campaign has attacked the servers being used by WikiLeaks. Despite the Ecuadorian embassy shutting down his internet until the U.S. election is over, the website will continue publishing, according to Assange. Quote, "Every day that you publish is a day that you have the initiative in the conflict," Assange said via telephone at a conference in Argentina on Wednesday. The whistleblowing website has been releasing emails from Clinton's campaign chair, John Podesta, on a daily basis since early October. Assange claimed the release, quote, "whipped up a crazed hornet's nest atmosphere in the Hillary Clinton campaign, leading them to attack WikiLeaks. Quote, "They attacked our servers and attempted hacking attacks, and there is an amazing ongoing campaign where state documents were put in the UN and British courts to accuse me of being both a Russian spy and a pedophile," he added. Ecuador's decision to shut down his internet was described by Assange as a strategic position so that its policy of non-intervention can't be misinterpreted by actors in the U.S. and even domestically in Ecuador. He said he was sympathetic with Ecuador, insisting they faced the dilemma of having the U.S. interfere with their elections next year if they appear to interfere with the U.S. election next month. And here we have Assange, who claimed the embassy will be without internet until the election is over to avoid accusations of interference, said he did not agree with Ecuador's decision, but that he understood it. WikiLeaks will not be affected by the decision as they do not publish from Ecuador, he said. So there you go. WikiLeaks will not be affected. There you have it officially from this article, they won't be affected by Ecuador's decision not to publish because they don't publish from Ecuador. So we can look for more articles and more leaks to come back home to the U.S. here. Moving right along, also anonymous, in regards to the wars and rumors of wars going on around the world, we have here at the anonymous website, the official website here, the title World War III is on the horizon 2016. I'll read a little bit about this. I find it very interesting, their take on it. But it says, "Greetings world, we are anonymous. For the last 2 months, we have been consistently reporting on a possible global conflict, World War III, between the United States and its allies in the West and Russia and its allies in the East. The dispute on the South China Sea has severely damaged the United States' relation with the People's Republic of China. After the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague ruled that China's 9-line claim in the South China Sea and its land reclamation activities on islets are invalid and unlawful. The United States has been preparing to sail in the area under a so-called freedom of navigation principle. This has angered the Chinese. In August, the Chinese Defense Minister Chang Wanquan told his country's citizens to prepare for what he described as the People's War at Sea. Mr. Wanquan was referring directly to the United States' planned provocation under the pretext of freedom of navigation. China has since vowed to take all necessary measures available to protect its sovereignty over the South China Sea, revealing that it had the right to set up an air defense zone on the sea. China has also since been positioning and testing its nuclear weapons and planning military drills on its waters with Russia. Even the United States has confirmed that China has tested an intercontinental ballistic missile, which is capable of striking everywhere in the world within half an hour. Moving away from the South China Sea, we arrive in Syria. It is an open secret that the civil war in Syria is a proxy war between the United States and Russia. Russia has even intervened physically on the request of the Syrian government. The United States, unable to get any invitation, has been openly and secretly arming many rebel groups in the country with open plans to overthrow the Syrian government. Of course, since Russia honored the invitation of the Syrian government last year, the war has been turning in favor of the Syrian government, which was falling before Russia's intervention. As we speak now, tensions is mounting between the United States and Russia. Nerves are at their highest since the Cold War era. The United States at the moment is sitting on tenterhooks. Many officials in the President Obama administration are frustrated and confused regarding the situation in Syria. The United States has announced that it has ended all contacts with Russia in Syria. This announcement by the United States comes as Russia, beginning on September 22nd, intensified its military operations in Syria with the intention to capture the city of Aleppo for the Syrian government. Diplomatic efforts to put an end to the fighting in Syria have collapsed. As the Aleppo operation continues, Russia has given the United States a stern warning not to take any action against Syrian government forces. In fact, there are many Russian jet fighters stationed in Syria ready to shoot down any United States jet fighter that attempts to strike on the Syrian government forces. These developments from Moscow are not going down easily with the United States. The United States Secretary of State John Kerry is said to have urged President Obama to intervene and face the consequences from Russia. He is said to have even favored a nuclear deterrent against Russia. However, it appears that before Kerry could even make this suggestion to President Obama, the Russians had already gathered intelligence on the happenings within the White House. According to Zvezda, a Russian Defense Ministry television channel, The country has started preparing its citizens for a possible nuclear war with the United States because of the mounting tensions in Syria. Russia has since moved to deploy nuclear-capable Iskander missiles in its westernmost region, Kaliningrad, which borders on NATO members of Poland and Lithuania. Due to how the situation has become, some top officials at the United States Defense Headquarters have finally spoken. These Pentagon officials have admitted that the World War III is imminent and it's going to be deadly and fast. The military generals were speaking on a Future of the Army panel in Washington. Quote, "A conventional conflict in the near future will be extremely lethal and fast, and we will not own the stopwatch," Major General William Hicks said. General Hicks also stated that China and Russia's armies are becoming increasingly technological and that the Pentagon was getting ready for violence on the scale that the United States Army has not seen since Korea. His comments were also echoed by Lieutenant General Joseph Anderson and Chief of Staff General Mark A. Milley, who described a war between nation states as almost guaranteed. The generals also said apart from the conventional battle, cyber battle, too, has become a reality against the United States, revealing that even smaller nations are launching it against the country. So this article here by Anonymous on their official website is very sobering in detailing that these generals are actually saying that World War III is actually imminent and is pretty much a certainty to happen. So you want to check this site out here, Anonymous, and like I said, the title of the article, World War III is on the Horizon 2016. So definitely check that out. Let's see, moving right along, what else in the news? I wanted to detail a little bit on the GDP. As you know, or may not know, the GDP numbers are also staggering, and I believe that the last report was that we are growing at a astounding rate of 1.4%. That's very low, and it shows that there is really no growth in the U.S. economy. But I'll read a little bit of this article as well, titled, or actually this is U.S. economy, what is the GDP growth is the title, and this is from thebalance.com. And this kind of details a little bit about what GDP is. I know a lot of these alphabets and terms are thrown out, and here at KnowledgeWell we definitely want to provide you with a pool of information so that you can make an informed conclusion yourself. But I understand that some of these things need to be defined so that those conclusions can be made. But here, this article here, what is the GDP growth rate? The definition, the GDP growth rate measures how fast the economy is growing. It does this by comparing one quarter of the country's economic output to the last. The GDP growth rate is driven by the four components of GDP. By far, the most important driver of GDP growth is personal consumption, which includes retail sales. GDP growth is also driven by business investment, which includes construction and inventory levels. Government spending is the third driver of growth. It's sometimes necessary to jumpstart the economy after a recession. Last but not least are exports and imports. Exports drive growth, but increases in imports have a negative impact. Why is GDP growth rate important? The GDP growth rate is the most important indicator of economic health. When the economy is expanding, the GDP growth rate is positive. If it's growing, so will business, jobs, and personal income. If it's slowing down, then businesses will hold off investing in new purchases and hiring new employees, waiting to see if the economy will improve. That, in turn, can easily further depress the economy, and consumers have less money to spend on purchases. If the GDP growth rate turns negative, then the country's economy is heading towards or is already in a recession. That's when the economy contracts and GDP is less than the quarter or year before. Less than the quarter or year before. It occurs during the 4 phases of the business cycle. I won't read all of this, but I will point you to it. Check this website out, www.thebalance.com. And the reason I wanted to kind of go over the GDP is because I wanted to show you the reality of what we're really dealing with as far as GDP. And I was over here at shadow government statistics. I was looking at the actual unemployment rate. You know, there's much controversy over whether they being the government are actually letting us know what the actual GDP rate is, what the actual unemployment rate is. And from this article and from other podcasts and people that I follow, there's a great inconsistency, and maybe even of family members, friends, cousins, and things like that are unemployed or are having a hard time finding a job. Well, this article here can maybe point you in the right direction. It's called Shadow Government Statistics, the alternate unemployment charts. The seasonally adjusted SGS, shadow government statistics, alternate unemployment rate reflects current unemployment reporting methodology adjusted for SGS estimated long-term discouraged workers who were defined out of official existence in 1994. That estimate is added to the BLS estimate of U6 unemployment, which includes short-term discouraged workers. Going on, the U3 unemployment rate is the monthly headline number. The U6 unemployment rate is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, broadest unemployment measure, including short-term discouraged and other marginally attached workers, as well as those forced to work part-time because they cannot find full-time employment. So if you're looking at this chart, the shadow government stat, which actually puts us at, as of October, the actual unemployment rate is 23%. That is a far cry from the number that the government actually reports to the people. But obviously, they don't want to cause a panic. Obviously, they don't want to fully let us be in the know and aware of how dire the actual economy is at this moment. I have another article here that will detail this even more. And this article is from USA Today, and it's actually titled Top Retailers That Are Closing Stores in 2016. And if this doesn't get your attention, nothing probably will. Says retailers continue to face a challenging environment in 2016, with Macy's becoming only the latest top name to announce a wave of store closings this year. Macy's said it will close 100 of its 675 full-line locations amid failing profitability. The department store chain is only one in a list that ranges widely from specialty apparel to sporting goods. So that's Macy's there. Let's see who else is having issues in closing down stores. The Sports Authority, 460 stores shutting down. It says the struggling sporting goods store chain is in the process of closing all of its 460 stores. The retailer filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in March and originally planned to close only about 140 stores, but is now completely folding after attempting to restructure debt. It says no offers were made at an auction from buyers willing to keep any stores open. Walmart closing 269 stores, including 154 U.S. locations. The world's largest retailer said in January that it was closing 269 stores around the world as it refocuses on its supercenters and e-commerce businesses. It says the closures were decided based on financial performance and how well the locations fit with the Walmart's broader strategy. How about Aeropostale? 154 store closings. The apparel retailer filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in May and announced it was closing 113 of its 739 U.S. stores and all 41 of its stores in Canada. Aeropostale said 117 of the stores set to close are not profitable, and were responsible for $17 million in losses in 2015, according to a court filing. And the list just goes on and on. I'll read yet another one. Kmart, Sears, 78 stores closing. Sears Holdings announced in April that it would close 68 Kmart stores and 10 Sears stores this summer as the struggling retailer continues to weed out unprofitable locations. Ralph Lauren here closing at least 50 stores. The retailer founded by fashion icon Ralph Lauren said in June that it plans to close at least 50 stores and cut about 1,000 employees as it attempts to cut costs and create a leaner business. And the list just keeps going on and on. I'm not going to belabor that point anymore, but I just wanted to detail some of the seriousness of what's actually going on in the economy. So when you hear these false claims and things by the government that everything is well, and that I know Obama himself has actually said, or been quoted as saying, those that are saying that the economy is not doing good are actually, quote, peddling fiction. So I guess the numbers that are being put out here by various different sites that I've detailed to you tonight are just peddling fiction. But lots going on in the news. I just want to always keep you in the know. This is what KnowledgeWell Media's main goal is, to make you informed and keep you in the know. Remember to always find God in your day and to always look up. I know things are not looking all that positive right now, but don't forget that God is on the throne, and he knows exactly what's going on. He's never sleeping. He doesn't slumber. But make sure that you are where you need to be with him. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to KnowledgeWell Media. This is Courtney Scott signing off.